What's happened in the last 2 years? You were a very different JK.
I was in a very different emotional space when you met me last. I was drowning in insecurity.
Especially with a lot of people my age, we're dealing with this thing of aging parents. And no one teaches one how to deal with like aging parents.
Yeah, I think we're too hard on our parents. Everyone's f***ed up a little bit because of their parents. Like no one has it right. But they are also a little messed up because of their parents. We are adults now, they are the kids.
This conversation is now going to go out and create a big impact. Someone's going to go and tell their mom or dad that they love them.
I hope so, you must.
Do people still have the guts to give you creepy man energy?
I don't know about creepy, but I definitely have an antenna for like male chauvinist, backward thinking energy. And that like pisses me off.
Does that happen in the best circles as well?
Yes.
Have you had a breakup because of something like this? A lot of the female friends around me have had these experiences.
I think my heart broke the most when I lost my mom. That person never really left my life.
What was the biggest spiritual lesson you learned from her?
Just keep that child alive and protect it.
But I can see you gradually like working your way up that mountain of greatness that you're inheriting.
Oh God, I don't know why I'm getting emotional.
You should be proud of yourself.
You're gonna make me cry. Please stop.
Janhvi Kapoor is back on TRS. She was one of those guests that I really wanted back on the show. The last episode that we recorded with her was from 2 years ago. I've changed since then. She's changed since then. And I don't think it's very often that one gets to see film industry professionals in their most vulnerable and open state of mind, thanks to the nature of what modern interviewing has become. So in today's episode, I just tried to have a regular, very deep but friendly conversation with a friend of mine. Her name is Janhvi Kapoor. You know her as the brand Janhvi Kapoor, but today you're going to get to know her heart, her soul, and her mind, and you're going to get to learn a lot about the Hindi film industry. Her new movie, Mr. and Mrs. Mahi, is in cinemas on the 31st of May of this year. Make sure you go check it out. But before that, make sure you slip in to this epic episode of the Ranveer Show. We're back with Janhvi Kapoor. Janhvi Kapoor's on TRS again. What's up?
What's up?
What's happening?
Quite a bit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's been 2 years since our last conversation.
Has it?
Yeah.
I felt like it had been more.
I felt like it was last week.
Really?
Yeah. Do you feel like that about time sometimes, especially during your 20s, that things are flowing by too fast?
For sure. I also think that specifically post the pandemic kind of, like we all adjusted to a certain kind of pace, and then post it when things started happening again, I just feel like everything's gone by really fast. Like, I don't know how I'm 27. I don't understand it at all.
How do you feel about that number?
I don't believe it because I think it's an inaccurate number for like I haven't caught up with the number. Do you know what I mean?
What's your mental age?
I think I oscillate between like 70 and 5. It's very like it oscillates between the two. There's no average.
Fair. I think my mental age is 17, personality wise.
Mm-hmm.
And then spiritually, it's like 5,000.
5,000.
Yeah.
You've lived many lifetimes. I wanted to say when I think we were talking about it that I noticed an energy difference in you, but it's very peculiar because I find that whatever you've done, there's, at least before the camera started rolling, it felt like there was a sense of innocence. And I've never met someone who after a period of time has found it. Or like, I don't know, like, I feel like the last time I met you, there was an enthusiasm, of course, and like you were very wired and very like on it and with it and like ambitious. But there's a sense of innocence. It's like you've kind of, I don't know.
No, I appreciate that. In the last 2 years, I think I got my heart broken pretty bad. Little bit after we spoke, I think a relationship began. It went really well And then it wasn't a bad breakup. I think both me and my partner at the time, we had just pinned a lot of our hopes to that relationship. And then when it breaks,
Yeah.
wo bhi at age like almost 30, where you think that, okay, what now? And you've seen a lot of life.
Yeah.
When you face deep pain at an old age, it hits you differently and it changes you even more than you'd expect.
But do you find that at an older age, like it takes a lot for you to get affected because you've already seen so much? So I would imagine that you wouldn't be as affected by something like a heartbreak.
I can give you a guy perspective.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't speak for all guys, but I think I speak for most guys. That you're constantly trying to become stoic, indifferent to like the ups and downs of life.
Right.
Because that's what the movies teach us, that's what sports teach us. But when you're hit really hard with some kind of a heartbreak,
Yeah.
I think at different ages you have different ways of coping with it. But all in all, if you can get past it and you realize once again that time heals you, sleep heals you, therapy heals you, you become really strong at the end of it. So maybe the calm you're sensing right now is an outcome of an older guy's heartbreak. Maybe. Have you ever had your heart broken, Janhvi Kapoor?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Romantically speaking?
Yeah, romantically speaking. But also, I don't think heartbreak is exclusive to romance. I think it can happen with a lot of things. I think heartbreak happens when you pin too many hopes, like you said, onto something and expect a certain outcome, and you get very emotionally attached to that idea. And then things don't turn out the way that you thought they would.
Are you talking about career?
Yeah, I think that I've been heartbroken with things that have happened in my career. I've been heartbroken once romantically. I think my heart broke the most, of course, when I lost my mom.
Have you healed from all the micro heartbreaks at least, like over time?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What healed you?
I think different things for each of the heartbreaks. I don't think I've healed from, of course, losing my mom. I think that romantically I did heal from that heartbreak because that person never really left my life. And that helped. And I think also when you have objective clarity about why certain things happen, I think closure really helps. And I think professionally speaking, all of the little chotu-motu heartbreaks that I've had, I think it was because I was expecting maybe the wrong things, like external validation too much. And I mean, it's in our human nature. We're too attached to things that we shouldn't really be attached to. We start we're never content with what we have, right? We're always looking for what we don't have. And I think that's a basic flaw in human nature, but I also think it's what keeps us going and keeps us motivated. So I think, but it isn't the worst thing to sometimes look at what you have and feel happy about it. And I've started doing that a bit.
Kind of related to what you're saying, but also not related to what you're saying. I've met you like twice or thrice in my life, including
Yeah.
the one previous deep conversation I've had with you. And I really love meeting your presence. Like you're very like warm presence. If someone actually gets to know you, which I don't think many people get the chance of or for with a Bollywood star. But you have a very warm presence that maybe some people know through the podcasting world. And this is something I've silently always wondered about you as a friend. Uh, I really sense that you and both your parents had a very deep relationship, and there's already been a lot of conversation. I don't want to call it coaching of any sort, but I feel like you come from a place of a lot of depth, at least in conversation, which gives you empathy, which is helping your acting career,
I
but it
guess
also
so.
just helps your presence as a human being.
I guess so. I mean, honestly speaking, I've not been privy to conversations like this with either of my parents.
Really?
They weren't very like meta with their conversations. And I think by the time I came of age where I would have these kind of conversations with them, I think mom and dad had both been through so much, seen so much in life, and their profession required them to do so much talking and like people management and people like catering and performing and all of that. I think that they really took relief and derived joy from like simple things. Like when we'd see movies together, me and mom, we'd watch animated movies. When me and dad and mom and Khushi, like when we'd sit and talk, they'd be like very silly conversations. But I think that my observations of life, I've always been fascinated by, I think, internal turmoil and like the baggage that people carry. I think that's always fascinated me.
Why?
I don't know. I find humans to be very fascinating. And I think that we have such a load of our generational trauma, generational joy. And it's just fascinating to wonder the kind of baggage that makes a person.
Just a thought. But do you think you're exploring your inner turmoil by exploring other people's inner turmoil? Because that's what I totally do. So I'm assuming that it's the same with you because in your core you are an artist.
I guess so. But no, I think the kind of question that you've asked is sort of similar to what comes first, the chicken or the egg. And I don't think it's that this turmoil is what makes me want to be an artist. I think it's more that I want to be an honest artist. And so I seek trying to get to the bottom of people's psyche a little bit. Like I love human interaction. I really do. Yeah.
Okay. How's life right now?
It's good. It's a bit hectic.
Hectic?
Mm-hmm.
Like tiring? Physically?
I wouldn't say tiring physically. It was very hectic and tiring physically during the shoot of this film that I'm promoting right now, but it hasn't been hectic for a while. It's picking up now, and I think my body kind of got used to a more relaxed pace because I've been shooting for the South film and I love the way that they shoot. They shoot a movie the way that, you know, I was speaking to the makers and they were like, we don't, like, you're making cinema, you're making art, you need to enjoy it. You can't be like dying on set every day. So I've been in that space for a while and now things are picking up over here again. So I'm, readjusting.
This is the fittest I've ever seen you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a bit chonky when you
No, I mean, not that was looking bad, just like objectively in terms of fitness, this is the fittest I'm seeing you. So are you not eating or are you taking care of your fitness?
I was, I think I don't know if, I think I met you right before my show. Did I speak to you about my injuries at that point?
It was before your injuries.
Was it?
Yeah.
I came to you when we were promoting Good Luck Jerry. It was before my injuries, yeah. No, I think one shoulder dislocation had happened. I think one was going to happen or something like that. I'm not sure.
You were a very different JK.
You were a very different Ranveer.
What changed in you? I told you what changed in me. What's happened in the last 2 years? I feel like I'm sitting in front of a new person and I know how good your communication skills are, honestly. So I was very happy to do a second podcast with you.
I know, me too. I'm happy to be back.
I needed you to be in this space because of the energy. I needed you to sense whatever we were speaking about before the show as well. But you're not the same person, man.
I hope not.
I feel there's like a very big difference in you. I also think people discount how evolution inducing fame can be.
Not necessarily.
You don't think so?
I think it's different for different people. I think I've always been one who chases like growth, like personal growth, intellectual growth, artistic growth. And so I can understand why you think I'm a completely different person, because I don't like to stagnate in any way, shape or form. And I was in a very different emotional space when you met me last. I was drowning in insecurity.
Really?
I think so, more than I am now. Now I'm like reaching up for air once in a while.
But it's there in your heart.
It's been conditioned into me, I think, from a very young age.
it's been conditioned into you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I spoke about this the last time I was here as well. When your entire existence and everyone around you kind of makes you feel like, and this in no way is me asking for sympathy. It's just like everyone has different realities. This is mine. Um, I mean, when people have such a heavy perception of you and your privilege and your baggage, and you're kind of made to feel apologetic about the space that you take up in the industry and the school, and every time you make friends, or you do well in school, or you get any sort of opportunity, it's always pinned to
Where you come
where
from.
you come from. You kind of don't know what value to give yourself, individual of these other aspects. So I think self-worth was always a thing because I didn't know how to assess my own value, you know. And after losing mom, I think I was just seeking a lot of validation from places that I shouldn't have been seeking validation from.
Have you gone for therapy about that phase of your life?
No.
Have
Phase
you?
means that has been life only.
That's been life since?
I mean, yeah, since as long as I can remember. Like since school, since...
Talking about post-mom.
Oh, post-mom? No, I've... Oh, you're asking if I've gone to therapy to deal with the loss of mom? No, I haven't. My work has been my therapy.
Have you been able to deal with it through work?
Better than I would have if it wasn't for work. I don't think I'd be here if it wasn't for my work, honestly.
I just want to make it clear. I know you know this, but I just want to make it clear to the listeners as well that if I'm asking you a question about your mum, I'm asking you from a very human perspective, and I'm trying to understand loss better. I'm not trying to hunt for
Yeah,
headlines.
sensationalize it. I know. I didn't think that you were.
I know you didn't. I know that you know me, and I have a certain level of comfort while speaking with you as well. And I hope it's the same for you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why I'm asking you this. I'm living away from my mum, and she was not very comfortable with the thought of me leaving my home and moving out. And I told her that, listen, you got to give me just 3 years. I need to go because when you leave your house, you end up growing a lot more as a human being. That I knew that in theory. I knew that that's probably true. But I've experienced that in the last 3 years, that you're forced to grow. You're perhaps forced to have some mental health issues as well. Go through it, seek help, understand yourself better. But those 3 years are coming to an end now. And my mum honestly is not liking that I'm away. So I feel that especially with a lot of people my age, we're dealing with this thing of aging parents. And no one teaches one how to deal with like aging parents.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're dealing with a version of that.
No, I'm dealing with it. Like, I think it is our due. I don't know how it is in Western cultures, but I think as Indians, there is a responsibility that we should assume, and I'm very proud that this has been inculcated. हमारे सभ्यता में ये सिखाई जाती है कि एक उम्र के बाद हमें अपने माँ बाप की देखभाल करनी पड़ती है और करनी चाहिए, वो हमारे बच्चे बन जाते हैं.
Yeah.
So I know that I will give my father a lot more allowances to maybe not be there for me emotionally the way that I assumed a father should be there, just because I know now it's my time to be there for him, and that's fair. They've dedicated their whole lives to, and this whole thing, and I've spoken about it before with my friends and my family, I think we're too hard on our parents. Always. Like, everyone's fucked up a little bit because of their parents. Like, no one has it right. But they are also a little messed up because of their parents and their parents' insecurities, their baggage. Like, no one's followed like a do-it-right handbook to bring you up. So you need to just forgive yourself, forgive them, and just give them love. Like, be there for them. It is so important to me. I'm borderline obsessed with my father. I think so.
I hear you. And I think when you're at this late 20s, mid 20s, early 30s phase, you really begin to love your parents more. Even if you've always had a loving relationship, it just increases. Because honestly, and I don't like saying this, but you see them aging. I wanted to use a harsher word, but I'm not going to use the harsh word.
No, and I'll tell you what else I think it is. I think as kids, you have this idyllic view of your parents. Like, my mother can do no wrong, my father can do no wrong, he's Superman, she's Superwoman, like it's all good. And then when you become an adult and you start recognizing that they're human, that realization is also heartbreaking. Because in your head, your parents can do no wrong.
Yeah.
And so to come to terms with that realization, I think has been hard for me because I know they've given it their best. And my way of coping with that really is that my heart goes out to them. My father, he's been through a lot. He's seen a lot. He's done a lot. And I just I want to create a safe environment for him where it's okay for him to mess up, have fun, and just think about himself,
One doesn't hear a lot of people say all these things though.
Really?
Yeah.
No one talks about it. You're so right. Like, that's not a conversation. How to take care of your parents. Like, we are adults now, they are the kids.
Yeah, maybe even we're saying this because we live in these times with an excess of information from the West. So we are kind of taught these skills in terms of this conversation is now going to go out and create a big impact. Someone's going to go and tell their mom or dad that they love them.
I hope so. You must.
We have the power of the internet. They didn't. Which is why that chain of generational trauma has been carried across through generations. So we're the first generation that has the opportunity to break that chain, be a good kid at age 30.
But I don't think the internet's going to heal us of our generational trauma. It's just going to add a different kind of trauma.
My theory on this, and I'm not a dad yet, but my theory is that when you do become a parent and you do get to raise your kid in a more positive environment, you end up healing your own childhood trauma as well.
I've found off late, I have weirdly maternal instincts towards anyone I see. I just want to feed them and pamper them and lull them to sleep.
Do you think of this nesting phase thing?
Means?
That's a more polite way of asking, शादी करने वाला हो?
Oh,
बच्चे चाहिए?
It's a very nice way of asking. Of course करने वाली हूँ life में. अभी कोई plans नहीं है. I just want to clarify because a lot of people have been writing weird articles about
You being
me
married?
getting married. There are no plans. I want to work. The person they are assuming that I will get married with, even he wants to work. So I just don't want us to be troubled with this marriage question at all. We just want to work right now.
When you were growing up, did you ask both your parents about this process of fame or the film industry in terms of what it feels like?
Not what it feels like, because I saw what it felt like and I felt what it felt like. But I remember asking mom once, we were traveling and people kept coming up to her, asking her for pictures, this and that. And I was like, why are they troubling you so much? You're not a president or you're not saving lives. You're not a doctor. You're pretending to be someone on screen. And for that, itna attention milta. What's the logic? And she said that, yeah, but there's an emotional connection with the audience. I've tried to move them with my work. I've made them laugh when maybe they had nothing to laugh about in their lives. I've made them cry and felt like I understand what they're going through my work, my art. And that emotional connection it sometimes means more than the other stuff. So that really stuck with me. And that I think shaped my perception of fame. So for me, I always associated it with a deep emotional connection with your work and with the audience, and not so much glamour and excitement, because my parents were never... I think dad is a little excited by his looks now, and mom also was, but yeah, their association with it was always through their art first.
Would you ever want to direct or produce films at any point? That it is your legacy in some ways.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think I'd like to develop stories as well. I think directing might be a little too intense for me. I think definitely producing and developing stories. I think the last film that I've done, Olaj, which isn't out yet, I think the makers have been so wonderful with me. My director, Sudhanshu, he's allowed me to really have a voice, a creative voice in the making of the film, which has felt like, I think they spoiled me a bit. They gave me too much of a voice in the film.
No problem with that, dude. I don't know. Again, I don't know polite way to ask this question, man. I'm just gonna go straight for it. Okay. Uh, just hear me out like completely. Okay, about the question. Um, if someone comes from a so-called film family, most of the time, a lot of the outsiders assume that this person's not seen the world enough. Therefore, maybe they may not be able to deliver an acting performance.
Right.
Now, what they're truly trying to talk about here is depth of character. They're saying that this person doesn't have that depth of character in order to even deliver this performance. This is the traditional narrative.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that stands out about you is that you have depth. And that's what I felt the first time we spoke as well. So I was very pumped to like speak with you. I wanted to see what's happened in these 2 years, dude. I really feel that people in the 20s in this phase of the human story, in the 2020s post the pandemic, are going through a more intense phase than other past phases of the human story because of social media. It's just a very different planet Earth. My question to you is this something you focus on yourself? Like, do you actually, as an actor, as an artist, are you constantly seeking to find more depth or more experiences? Because I don't know anyone else who goes to Tirupati regularly. Anyone who comes from what people would assume to be your world. You getting what I'm saying?
Yeah, I am.
Like, I see an urge to actually explore life much more with you.
Yeah, but that's always been there. Like I've said, I'm a curious person. And I think that even if I wasn't an artist, actually, I want a lot more from life emotionally than just the comforts that would have been easily offered to me.
What do you want from life emotionally?
I want to be wealthy in my soul. Does that make sense? Like,
you want to feel wholesome.
Yeah, but there's no like end game to that. I want to be enriched. Like I want my well to be full of experiences. And I understood, see, I've lived a very sheltered life. Mom and dad have been very overprotective of me. And I think as a result of that, I seek experiences a lot more because I felt it was kept from me. You know, mom's logic, of course, was that I've lived so much, seen so much, done so much, so I can just give my kids comfort and luxury without them having to go through any of it. But I am not interested in that kind of hollow existence. In fact, it unnerves me. Almost to a point of fault because I judge people who are...
that sheltered.
No, not even sheltered. I sympathize with the shelter, but I judge people who lack curiosity and that kind of ambition to seek experiences, you know?
Who just happy with their Saturday night, let's go drinking.
Yeah, or like are complacent in that sense. Like, or are uninterested in discovering what their identity means. And I don't mean like professional triumphs of our conventional notions of success. I mean like internal enrichment. I feel I'm unfairly, I judge those people. I should work on it. But I've always been curious. I love reading. I think I'm a romantic, not just in the conventional sense of the word, but I love poetry. I like any kind of art that stirs the soul and invigorates you mentally. I like understanding all of these things and hearing about it and learning about it.
In order to explain this point better, recommend 3 films that shaped up this aspect of your personality.
3 is too less. Pyasa, definitely.
Whoa.
God, it's such a beautiful film. Pyasa.
What do you like about Pyasa?
I think it was a very beautiful depiction of what an artist goes through. And I mean, he's a character in internal turmoil, and he doesn't get his due as an artist, and all the things that he feels and how society judges his work and then doesn't judge it. And all of these things, I felt they were very poetic.
A cousin of mine, Sid Gautam, is a massive Imtiaz Ali fan, and he calls Pyasa 1950s Tamasha.
I guess so, in a way. So definitely Pyasa.
It's a gorgeous film, though.
Yeah.
It's black and white art.
Yeah. My Left Foot. It's about this paraplegic. I think it's a true story. And the only part of his body that has mobility is his left foot. And he starts painting with it. And it's about so much more than that, really. And there's so many film, like Sophie's Choice, Mughal Azam.
Why Mughal Azam?
Oh God, the romance of it, like the beauty of it. But I'll tell you what fascinated me even more than these films is the stories of like these actors, like these pop culture icons and their lives, like the life of Meena Kumari, the life of Marilyn Monroe, Kurt Cobain. I don't know, like there's something about Madhuba.
There's blessings behind them for them to even see that kind of iconic fame. That's how I look at it.
I don't know if I'm looking at it from the iconic fame point of view, but more from what they brought to celluloid has been so memorable. But it's such a distinct juxtaposition to what was happening in their real lives, and I think that has always fascinated me.
Any more recent Hindi films?
Lapata Ladies.
Can we talk about it?
Yeah, of course we can talk.
I saw a cute and sweet film like that, which was so deep. Like this balance of showing something extremely deep through something extremely cute. I've not seen that in any film in the world. There's people who diss like Indian filmmaking and then compare to the...
Oh, and 12th Fail?
Yeah.
12th Fail?
Let's talk about Lapata Ladies first.
Okay.
As a girl, what did you feel watching it? Because as a guy, I learned a lot about the feminine reality.
My heart was just full, honestly. The kind of happiness I derive from after I watch a good film that's moved me internally, I think very few things come close to it.
Like when you watch a great film, that post-great film feeling where you know this film is going to stay with you, that's the feeling.
Yeah, oh God, nothing matches up to it.
Yeah, you know the scene in Lapata Ladies where he goes, I want to tell you one full sentence in English. And he goes, I love you.
It's too good. Sparsh is too good.
So sweet. What a sweet film.
Yeah. And even Nitanshi, she was so... I want her to be my best friend. I want to adopt her. Like that maternal instinct. I want to call her home and just like be with me.
Yeah, very, very sweet film. Like, and I saw people of all ages loving that film. Let's also talk about 12th Fail.
Okay.
One layer deep. What did you like about 12th? Beyond it being a very gripping film, insane direction, insane acting. Shout out to Vidhu Vinod Chopra.
Yeah. Shout out to everyone in that film.
Shout out to everyone in that film.
See, because I'm an actor, I think the first thing that comes to my mind was his performance, Vikrant's performance. But in terms of storyline, I think I like how it didn't follow too many conventional rules of storytelling, but still it had the clarity of following like an arc and a journey. And it established very early on that this is the motive of this character. This is what the character wants. This is why he wants it. So you immediately start rooting for him. And then it follows that journey very beautifully. Very like honestly. I think I liked the honesty. And I know nothing about the world that this character comes from. Yeah. But by the end of it, I feel like I could step into his world and I would know everything about it. Like it allowed me to sympathize so genuinely on such a human level to that specific experience that he had, that it made me a better, more empathetic person by the end of that viewing.
Are you comfortable speaking about 3 insecurities you've had through your 20s?
Yeah, sure. I think I was very insecure about my physicality. I think I was very...
Why?
I've been in the media since I was like 6. Either I'm being sexualized too much, either I'm like not being sexualized enough. So I guess my physicality. I think also my language. I've been insecure about whether I can speak good enough Hindi or not, although I'm very proud of my Hindi now.
आपकी हिंदी बहुत प्यारी है.
प्यारी है.
Yeah.
um
A little bit Tamil girl, pyari vibes come out in your Hindi.
and I think I've been insecure about whether I've had enough human experiences or not. Like, have I been too sheltered? Do I know enough about the real world or not?
How have you tried to break that third one? You've gone out and
As much as I could, yeah.
like what? Like what experiences have you? Like have you gone bungee jumping or some shit?
Not bungee jumping, but like close. I think I might have even dated people just for the experience of it. Um, I don't know. I think whenever I've been shooting a film, that gives me a lot of freedom to just like go around, explore the city, speak to people, um, wander in streets that I otherwise wouldn't have been allowed to wander into. I think it's a little tough now to do these things, but like in my first, I think up until Millie, I used to do it a lot. I haven't in a while. And yeah, just like getting to know more people that don't necessarily come from your background or your work or your like a similar walk of life.
You've acted with Pankaj Tripathi.
Yes. Oh
And-
God, मैंने इतना दिमाग चबाया है उनका. इतना दिमाग चबाया है.
I asked him that what's the key to becoming a good actor according to him. He said travel a lot. See
Yeah.
things you've never like seen.
Yeah, have experiences. Like,
Would you be open to going for a very remote trek where you have to like, you know, sleep in the open or go for your number one and number two in the open? All these kind
number
of.
one and number two in the open is like I get nightmares about it. But I like if you can find like a bush for me.
हाँ मतलब there are bushes, but it's just this process. At least for me, I felt like one of the groundbreaking things for me in terms of travel was all these like treks or nighttime camping where you have to like set up your own tent and you're really living in a very basic manner. It brings out something from you. So would you be?
I think that would help me get to know myself more. I think what I'm seeking is more like other human experiences. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like what does it mean to I don't know how to say it without sounding like someone who's really disconnected from life.
I don't. Okay. Little perspective. Like people sit on their high horses often and say that, oh, an actor, what do they know about life? But the truth is, most people in urban India don't go out exploring life as much.
Exactly.
So it's not right to like sit and judge as well. I also think that the nature of media entails that you see the world and you meet a lot of people.
So that's what I'm interested in the meeting of people, in understanding their history, their baggage, their upbringing.
Outside of Bombay as well.
Outside of Bombay specifically,
Hmm.
in smaller towns, not necessarily even in India, like people can surprise you a lot.
What's the one country that stayed with you?
Country. You know, I was thinking about it the other day, but I think Europe is beautiful, of course, and I think over the years the kind of historical artistic boom that they've seen at the turn of every century is very evident in their architecture and their literature even today. But a country that fascinates me is America, because of I think what it's stood for, kind of like the dreamland. That's why I've been so fascinated by Fitzgerald's world. You know, every book he's written, how he's kind of, for the first half of all of his literature, he's romanticized like America, the dreamland, and then and the American dream, and then kind of exposed it for being just like a phony capitalist,
Over glossy.
like sellout of a narrative that isn't true. But even in that I find romance, because so many people have fallen for it, and it's made the country somewhat of like a
Soft power powerhouse.
but like a monster. I don't know how to explain what I mean when I say what it stands for, but
It stands for the fact that all of the world's human beings' cultural thoughts are impacted by that country.
And I think like the myth that that country is like years ahead of everywhere else. So many of our pop culture moments are dictated by what happens there first, even in terms of like the kind of immigrants that they have there, the history of that country. It's very like bloody but shiny,
Mm.
you know.
Hmm.
And I think that the juxtaposition of that is very poetic.
It sees its glamour, but it's also seen its sangharsh.
Yeah. Like every country has,
Yeah.
but there's so many conspiracy theories and I don't know.
What's your own favorite film of your whole filmography?
Up until now,
Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Mahi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about it?
I think what it says. I think the values that the film is trying to impart, the moral of the story, they are my values. Like I stand by what the film is trying to say, and I relate to it very deeply. And it's also very personal to me, Ranveer. And I can't really speak about this on any other platform, but I think I can with you because I feel you can understand it, and your viewers might understand it, because it's like quite a visceral, like meta kind of thought. But Sharan told me about like the one liner for the story while we were shooting Gunjan, and we kept talking through his writing phase of the film. And so Mahima, the character I'm playing, a lot of the situations she's in, the person that she is for like the majority of the film was based on of like very closely borrowed from a phase in my life. And you can ask Sharan this, he'd attest to it and all of those things. And they're like so much so that there are certain dialogues that are like directly from things that have happened in my life. And so I'd keep sharing it with him, like giving him that insight, and he'd ask me and this and that. And so when I got over that phase in my life and I moved on is when I actually started shooting for this film. So it felt very weird to play a version of me that I now started judging. Like I would read the scenes and I wouldn't get it because Sharan would come to me and he'd be like, but you know how you were when this was happening? Like, why can't you just like, you know how you like just didn't know, like you were just happy with it all? And I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't make sense. How stupid of me. And he'd keep telling me, yeah, but you want this away. You need to unlearn the epiphanies that you've had, which was very difficult for me because I had so much hate for the person that I used to be. But it was incredibly cathartic to live through those situations. And right now I can stand here and look back and kind of be like, okay, I grew through it. But while I was shooting for it, there was a lot of like shame and disgust that I let myself be that person or be in those situations.
How do you deal with like creepy guy energy? Creepy man energy? And do people still have the guts to give you creepy man energy?
I don't think so.
No, right?
I don't think so.
But you can pick it up?
Yeah. I don't know about creepy, but I definitely have an antenna for like
Intentions.
male chauvinist, backward thinking energy. And that shit like pisses me off.
Does that happen in the best circles as well?
Yes. And you can't judge them too much for it because that's their conditioning. They can't help it. They don't know any better. Yeah.
As in they look at you as slightly less because you're a woman.
It's not even as simple as that. Like I've met the wokest person on the planet. And even that person sometimes can have double standards without realizing it.
Do you sense that with all the guys around you? That all the guys are a little conditioned?
No, not all. Not all at all. It's not a generalization.
I've heard some girls say that every guy has a little bit of chauvinism in him. But the thing is, I'm a guy. So there's no way I'd even have perspective on it. There is certain conversations that you'd only have with guys. But that's about as far as it goes. I don't know if every guy...
I don't think that's what chauvinism... There are certain conversations a girl will only have with a girl.
What is chauvinism? Little bit thinking that males are a little bit superior.
No, but even that is a simplification. I think it's in small things like I don't know how to explain it. Like, I guess it does maybe come back to thinking that we've assumed this responsibility of being the providers, the caretakers, because they don't know any better. इतनी भोली है, इतनी बेचारी है, हमें देखभाल करना पड़ेगा, या no, I love her, so I should tell her not to dress like this for her good, or even like a person being intimidated by an ambitious woman, you know, like सब बोलेंगे कि मुझे career driven लड़की चाहिए, but to really be okay with it is a completely different ball game altogether.
Have you had a breakup because of something like this?
I guess you could say that. I don't know.
A lot of the female friends around me have had these experiences, man. This is what you go through in your 20s.
Yeah. And I think in India also there's a lot of like, not just in India, all over the world, you assume a female to be this figure of like sacrificial, maternal, nurturing energy. And not as much importance is put on one nurturing themselves, you know?
You expect, many guys would expect the girlfriends to take care of them.
I'll give you a very simple example, and I sympathize with men too on this, because if there are gender roles for women, there are for men as well. If a woman is skipping on her job to be with the man she's with, I don't think people will object to that too much. But if a man is adjusting his schedule around to cater to a woman's schedule, I think automatically they'll be like, "Are tu to matlab," you know. So I think society also doesn't allow men to be as open-minded as sometimes I think they would like to be.
Well, the traditional format of society is a little fucked up for both the genders.
Yeah,
and maybe all the genders.
All the genders. For sure. You know what? My solution to it is simple. Live and let live. Like, just be accepting, just stop judging. And I don't think it's easier said than done. It's pretty easy because I think it's pretty exhausting to judge other people, you know? So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
I think you guys are the most judged people in the country. Perhaps after cricketers?
I think after cricketers.
The cricket is the most intense.
Yeah.
But you guys give the second most intense trauma dumps on this show. I always sense that. And there's trauma beyond just words as well. There's energy. So I felt a lot of pity for my friends from cricket. But I feel at least 70 to 80% of that pity for my friends from the world of film. I feel it for anyone who's kind of dealing with any amount of fame, but there's too much scrutiny in your world. But a lot of stuff. Do you have friends within the film industry, like on-screen professionals who are friends? What do you guys talk about?
Not this.
Not films?
No, films, but not like the scrutiny stuff, because it's just a part and parcel of it. I don't know how to make a big deal about it anymore. Like, it's in every interview, there'll be a question about, oh shit, the scrutiny, it must be tough. But like, what do you expect? Baki life to itna easy ho gaya hai na? And you're living your dream. तो मतलब कुछ भी संघर्ष नहीं चाहिए life में.
Are you living your dream?
Yeah, if I'm in front of the camera and being able to tell stories, I'm definitely living my dream.
That's where you feel the most alive?
Yes.
Is there an art related to stardom as well?
If there is, I haven't cracked it yet.
Have you ever been told by any of your industry seniors that there's an art related to stardom?
Yes.
How does one even break down that thought in terms of perception? Like,
I mean, everyone has their own theories. I think one theory I've been hearing a lot lately is you can't be so accessible. There's a difference between being a social media star and an actual movie star, and people are confusing the two in this day and age, which I agree with. But I also feel like each to their own. You can't calculate these things so much. You do what's working for yourself. You do what comes naturally to you. If you want to post 10 times a day, go for it. If you don't want to post for 5 years, don't do that either. But like, end game needs to be, you need to get your work.
I think at the end of the day, your numbers matter more than anything. Unfortunately, that's the truth about the world.
You mean in terms of like business of movies?
In any profession,
Yeah.
What is the mathematical difference you're making to the ones around you or to your industry?
Yeah.
And then that overrules like everything. But I do believe that this is just my opinion. And I'm not even from your industry, so I shouldn't have the right to be making an opinion. But I've observed people. I do believe that you guys, like film stars in our country, should be a little more away from the public eye as much. And at the same time, should be able to show growth, because that's what every consumer's going through in their own lives right now. In terms of everyone's, just let's take social media. Everyone wants to grow their social medias. Everyone wants to grow their Instagram accounts. This is like moms, dads, uncles, everyone, old people. So everyone's in a growth-oriented mentality now. We've seen a random spike up in podcast consumption also in the last 1 or 2 years. Like, it wasn't like this 2 years ago.
But why do you think that is?
People are just, and maybe it's just our country, but there's suddenly this upsurge of like intellect and curiosity and wanting to jump to that next level. So I think when it comes to the icons, people expect that same level of growth and drive, which is why I'm not just saying this because of TRS, but podcasts give you guys the right place to showcase that, hey, you know what? In the last 1 or 2 years, this is how I've changed.
Yeah, and I have more to offer than just like
how good you look or how good you act.
Yeah. I would be fine if like the conversations were about how I act, but most often it isn't. But no, I agree that the reason why I support this notion of actors being a little more aloof is that I think you need to be guarded. I don't trust the mode of communication, how our information gets relayed to the public, the media, the headlines, the sensationalization of it. It's very inaccurate. And B, I think that everyone already has their preconceived notions and baggage. And कितना भी आप मतलब 10,000 पॉडकास्ट में जाके पेलते रहो कि कितना ग्रोथ हुआ है, कितने किताबें पढ़े हैं, they are very attached to their perception of you.
What do you think people's perception of you is? What do you think the masses' perception of you is?
Privileged. Posts cute pictures on Instagram. And like, I think I've made a very slight dent of, okay, she's maybe trying with her films. I really think that's it. I think umbrella word maybe nepo, but...
How do you feel about that?
Oh, it used to break my heart. Like, break my heart. But I think it used to break my heart a lot more when I didn't know if I had more to offer than that. I think I'm a lot more self-assured in that I know I have more to offer than that. I know when I walk onto a set, my skill set brings a certain amount of value. And there are directors and makers that can attest to it, whose opinions I respect a lot more than the faceless troll on Instagram, you know?
And that's never going to go away.
Yeah.
The faceless troll.
I guess so. And like I'm glad I entertained them for a second. But yeah, so... I wouldn't say I'm indifferent to it, but I think there's I want people's love and respect, of course. I want them to be moved by the work that I do because that's what's been inculcated in me. Like, that's my dream. But I'm not going to value myself based on their opinions anymore.
As you should.
Yeah, but I wasn't. I was really like... waiting to convert each and every one of them. And the thing is that most of them don't exist. Most of them are paid bots, so it's like kind of tough to convert them.
We have this round that I planned to happen much earlier, but it will happen right now.
Okay.
So I'm going to show you certain photos and you will just talk to me about it. That's all. So are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll get to the photos. Who is this?
Me. Acting weird.
Who was this person?
This person is the person that is still there. Yeah.
You've been you're still this human.
Yeah.
Okay. When will the world get to see this weird side?
Probably never.
Really?
Yeah, probably like maybe in a movie role or something, but otherwise no.
I think it'd be a good addition to a comedy film. And I think there's going to be a resurgence of comedy now.
I think so too, and I've been told I'd be good in a comedy.
Mom
actually used to tell me that I'd be good in a comedy.
Because you're real, dude. Like, do you remember that one party I met you at?
Yeah.
Okay. My first thought was, hey, I'm meeting Janhvi in a non-professional environment, and the energy you gave out was very just normal, whatever. I think that's the prerequisite to comedy, because you're going to have to make fun of yourself in the process of doing
Oh, I
comedy.
make fun of myself more than I should, probably.
Okay. 1 second. What was the sadness in this girl's life?
At that point, it's so funny. I was always very paranoid about losing my parents, even at that age. Every time they'd go out at night for an event, or they'd travel for more than a day without me, or like sometimes they'd go, even small things like they're shopping for duty free, and so I've boarded the plane with the nanny. I'd always be like, they're not gonna make the flight. I don't know if they're gonna come back home. I'd like wake up at night and sometimes like go into their room and check if like they were breathing. Like it was so weird. There was this weird paranoia.
You have an anxious attachment style?
I don't think so. Maybe. I wouldn't know. I don't think I'm anxiously attached to anyone right now. Um but yeah, there was a very significant paranoia of that.
Even at that age?
Yeah, which is ironic, I think.
Okay. Moving on.
Oh,
Who are you at this phase? How do you feel around your sisters?
I feel very protective. Very protective. I don't spend as much time with Shania. But whenever I do, I feel protective of her. And Khushi, though, I'm very protective of her. Like, I'll kill for her.
Have you gone through some kind of pains in this world that you'd not like your sisters to go through?
I think I'm proud of the person that I am today. And I think I'm equipped to deal with a lot of things. And in that sense, there's nothing I've gone through that I wouldn't want them to go through. The one thing, obviously, is losing mom, which we have both gone through. But I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
Will bring you all closer together?
Initially, no. Initially, it was very like confusing. But now, yes. Now, once we've gotten past some of the initial feelings of it, yeah. Now it has. Now I think we mother each other a lot.
How did you get past loss?
I'm not past it. I think I got past the initial confusing feelings regarding the suddenness of it, the chaos after it, the grief of a presence that's not there anymore. All of these things. I don't think I'm past it, Ranveer. I think I'm just punishing myself less for trying to seek happiness in solitude without her.
Can't imagine what the scene feels like, man. Like, there's a part of me which, as a friend, just wants to say that I'm proud of you, but it's too heavy an emotion for me to even wrap my head around. So I don't know what you've been through, but the person you are, the kindness and the positive energy around you says a lot about what's in your core, despite going through whatever you've been through.
I'd like to think that that positive energy and kindness, I think, is all her inside me.
That's a way of remembering her also, maybe.
I think so.
What was she like to hang with?
A lot of fun. She was very funny.
Very funny?
Yeah, she was very funny. She was a kid. She was a child. Her spiritual age was 3 or 4.
What was the biggest spiritual lesson you learned from her?
Just keep that child alive and protect it.
Maybe this sentence is a little premature, but I can see you gradually working your way up that mountain of greatness that you're inheriting. As a friend, I see it on the outside as well. I see the lagan constantly climbing. I'm not just saying that. I think that that's a part of what is keeping you ticking and climbing as well.
I'm getting emotional. This is not... Okay, next.
You should be proud of yourself.
You're gonna make me cry. Really, stop. This is me and Gunjan, ma'am. This is, I think, we were it was like hot in Lucknow. It was like May, and we were shooting in a place called Thandi Park, and it was like 50 degrees.
This is the Janhvi that your friends know, you know?
This is the
Janhvi that your friends know.
really?
Yeah. Like the smile, just the chillness.
I guess so. This is also me with a woman that I really admire.
What rubbed off in terms of character when you're playing a military legends character like that? What stayed with you?
The black and white approach to things. Either you're good or you're bad. There's no like grayness. Even in the approach to dealing with people. It's very like, I want to become an Air Force pilot. I'm good at my job. If I work hard, I'll become it. Like, I wouldn't say there's a naiveness to it, but there was a very pure sincerity, which I respect. It gave me hope. It gave me, even though our journeys were very different, hearing her story and hearing about her approach to things just confirmed or gave me the courage to stick to my path of just keep doing the work. Don't think about the result.
मेहनत करोगे सब कुछ ठीक रहेगा.
Yeah.
That's basically very dry military mentality.
Yeah.
Get the job done.
Yeah.
Okay.
And and her father was also in the forces, so I think her conditioning and her upbringing was also like that. So even before she became an Air Force pilot, I think her upbringing itself was very black and white. या तो आप अच्छे हो या तो आप बुरे हो, या तो आप काम कर सकते हो या नहीं कर सकते, या तो आप मेहनत कर रहे हो या तो नहीं कर रहे हो.
What was her advice to you about playing an Air Force pilot?
She was very modest and very humble. She's very like, हाँ मुझे बस करना था तो कर लिया, इसमें कौन सी बड़ी बात है. And I found that to be very unique in her, that modesty.
It's kind of there in you also, a little bit.
I don't know.
But after some layers. Anyway, moving on. This guy. Thala.
Yeah.
What do you feel about Thala?
I feel he's a legend. I feel there is a godliness to him. I'm not even kidding. I've said this, I think, in like 5 interviews, but I saw him at an event recently, and Ranveer, he doesn't walk, the man glides. He was wearing like a sherwani with the shawl, and his hair was kind of long, and like his hand was like this because the shawl was here, and he was just like, there was like this serene, divine look to his face. I can't explain it.
That's what you observed as an actor?
Yeah. And at the same time, he was so chill to talk to. I feel like with his skill set, the amount of work he's put in, and the kind of output that it's shown, I think he's reached like a stage that is almost...
I'm going to say something that I believe in. This is just my theory. But they say that some of those rishis or some of those people who've already reached an elevated state of consciousness in their life, sometimes between that moment of death and rebirth,
that's when
they have a choice of choosing the next life.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because they've accumulated that much positive karma and that much evolution that God, and this is there in a lot of cultures. Shamanism says this. There's a book about death in Hinduism called Garud Puran, which is just about all this. So I feel like, honestly, sometimes with Lionel Messi and MS Dhoni, I feel these are two divine souls reborn to teach the world calmness and excellence. You know, that's just my opinion. That's it. That's the round. Thank you, JK.
Thank you, Ranveer.
I have complimented you at the end of last time's podcast because I got to know you for the first time. All I'll say at this point is keep going. You're growing a lot. Everyone who knows the real you is very proud of you. And we have some common friends. So I've only heard people say amazing things about the human being that you are. Of course, there are people who say positive things about your work. My gauge for someone's success is the kind of feeling that they give to other people in actual human settings. You're one of the nicest people I've met from the world of media in general. And that's the deepest compliment I can give you.
That is the deepest compliment, and it means a lot.
So all the best.
Thank you,
And
Ranveer.
I hope you keep flourishing in every way that you've ever done.
I hope you do as well.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We'll see you probably in 2 years' time.
Hopefully sooner.
Soon. Cool. See you.
See
Thank you.
Thank you, Ranveer.
That was the episode for today, ladies and gentlemen. I'd love for your feedback on episodes like this. I don't feel like Hindi film industry professionals get a chance to express themselves openly on the internet. So please tell me what you thought about this one. There's a lot more film episodes coming up this year, and they're all kind of in this domain. I've really tried to get to the heart and the soul of all these people that I get to meet through the show, because I do believe that interviews with such quote unquote famous people can be handled much better, can be much more nuanced, much deeper. And unless I'm having fun, unless I'm getting stimulated during the course of a conversation, I don't think you guys are going to get stimulated. I don't think you guys will have fun. So this was just a genuine, deep conversation with a friend who's around my age. And I hope you enjoyed this very raw, very genuine conversation. Janhvi Kapoor is going to be back on TRS. Make sure you go watch Mr. and Mrs. Mahi in theaters on the 31st of May. But until next time, from Ranveer and the team, we'll be back very soon.